Hello and welcome to episode 250B of the Paint or the Minis podcast. We put the show together so you can have something to listen to whilst you are sitting at your desk and painting your miniatures of any scale, genre, or game. Our aim is to have a relaxed and genuine conversation with someone who's as involved in the hobby as you are, from any level, from top to bottom, because we all have our own unique and individual stories. Sit at your hobby desk, paint your models, listen to the chat. We really do hope that you enjoy the content. I am going to refrain from the gushing in episode 250B. If you enjoy a bit of a gush, you can check out episode 250A and you can hear me talking about some big blocks about paint all the mini stuff. A little bit of an insight more just into the shtick. This one, I don't really do any scripts. You might notice in the pre and post ramble that it is a certain way. I'm not going to suggest that way is bad or good, but I don't like to work with scripts. I have some general bits and notes, but hopefully you notice that quite regularly the things that I say and the things that I do are different. I did think about recording something and using that same intro every time. Well, what's the fun in that? What's the fun in that? It just becomes a little bit, like a process then. Kind of like a fast food type thing. This is the bit, when you get a Domino's pizza or something and they have like, it's a bit depressing. If you go at like Domino's, I haven't been to Domino's Pizza for ages, and if you like Domino's Pizza, great, but I'm not really a big fan, to be honest. I think it's because I went once to Domino's Pizza and I asked for a small pizza and they said, you can't have a small pizza because we don't have any small bases left. I was like, what? And they said, we don't have any small bases. We only have medium and large pizza bases. And I was like, well, just cut some off the big base or the small base. Like, cut a big base in half. That's a small base, isn't it? It was like, no, it doesn't work like that. We have like three boxes, small bases, medium bases, and large bases, and we don't have any left. So if you want to order a medium or a large one, you can. I was like, I don't want a large one, I want a small one. I think that's when the relationship with Domino's Pizza ended. But anyway, you go to Domino's Pizza and they have like pictures of all the pizzas up on the wall, right? About how they should look. And that's kind of good, I guess. You get the right level of salami on your pizza, but it's also a bit sad that it's so fixed. It's so like set. Like, this is what a pepperoni pizza looks like. This is what ham and pineapple pizza looks like. It makes me a little bit depressed. The kind of individual artistry of something like a pizza is kind of what makes life fun, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you might sneeze when he's putting his pepperoni on and you might get a little bit more. Sometimes he might be a bit grumpy, or sometimes there might be not very much pepperoni left, so you get a little bit less. But that's part of life's rich tapestry. So yeah, I try to avoid having set things that I talk about in the intro and the outro, and so that's why that happens. And again, that kind of links into what we were saying before about the structure and what I would like and what we would like, hopefully. If you dig it, paint all the means to be. It's rough around the edges. It's rustic. It's shabby chic. So because that's what it is. And so you probably one of the key things is, we talked in the last one about emotion, right? Is that you probably hear, like, in the background, if I'm a bit sick, and you probably hear that if I'm a bit pissed off, and you probably hear if I'm a bit happy, again, because that's part of life's thing. And I think if I record myself be like, hey guys, welcome to Paint All Minutes podcast, oh, amazing, then I'll be constantly stuck in that tone, and everything isn't always amazing, everything isn't always great, and you don't always get everything right. And so with the pre and the post ramble, it's intentional. Dave Schmidt said it. He kind of mentioned soy soldiers. That's brilliant. And he said, I'm going to keep that in, and that's exactly what it's all about. We make mistakes. We're human. We have different emotional states at different times, and I hope that the pre and the post ramble encapsulates that stuff. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed episode 250A. I hope that you enjoy episode 250B. I don't think that anyone will be listening to this specific episode for the first time ever. But if you are, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the episodes. And to everybody, again, thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much even more if you contributed to either A or B. And thanks to Dave Crow again for the poem. You'll get to hear that again in a second. And it's a great opportunity for everybody that if you have, like me, if you've got a bad memory, go back to like number one because you might have forgotten all that. So you might be able to enjoy 249 plus other episodes that you've forgotten about. If you listen to them all, you can go back to the start. A little bit like when you watch the Lord of the Rings extended edition. You can kind of go back. Not that the podcast is anywhere near as good as that. I'm not making that and that link in terms of quality or impact on the world. But hopefully you get the idea. Is that it's good when you can go back and watch something again. You can listen to something again that you might have forgotten about. And I hope that you get something from it. I hope that you enjoy it. It's free. Enjoy that. There's not very many things that are free these days. And so, yeah, that's enough of the pre-ramble. Let's go.
Paint all the minis. Paint all the minis that you can. And when you paint your minis, listen to that podcast with Dan Adams, that is.
There once was a podcasting man with a mic and a paintbrush in hand. He'd share a few words with the wargaming nerds while we paint all the minis with Dan. And after we've heard the intro, it's time for the call to Let's Go! And we'd strike up the band, the best theme tune in Podland, with a ripping good bluegrass banjo. So tell us about you, Dan would say, in a friendly, inquisitive way. And he'd ask what was good, and the sights and the food that we'd get if we went round their way. So tell us where your hobby began, asks the ever-inquisitive Dan. And we hear from each guest their hobby, life's quest, and our host responds, "Yeah, that's cool, man." "And what have you been up to?" he'll say. "Are there any great games that you've played? Or what about paints? Or the minis you rate? And where can we find you these days?" And after a right thorough chat, all about all of this and all that, all the minis are painted, and the guest's gone and fainted, but the episode still needs its hat. So on to the post-ramble, where you might get a bit of a sample about what's coming soon and all the Discord crowd news, although it's sometimes a bit of a shambles. But you know that I'm just being a tease, and we love you for shooting the breeze. So thanks to our Dan, 3 cheers for the man. 250 more, please.
Hi, Dan, it's Mark here. I was on your podcast, or at least I recorded your podcast episode a few weeks ago, and I believe that actually on Friday the 11th of July, which is tomorrow, is Thursday the 10th of July right now, I'm actually going to be broadcast to the world. So thank you for that. It was a great opportunity to come on board and have a chat about all sorts of things. I can't remember exactly what we spoke about. I think it was quite a wide-ranging conversation, which doesn't surprise me because I do like to go off on a tangent. But I think that what I really enjoyed about your podcast and being on it was that organic nature of the chat, as you always describe it, being able to just see where the conversation naturally goes and it not be particularly a curated conversation to try and get to a specific point, but to illustrate how human and different we all are, but how we potentially are different in our approach, but united in our reason for being in the hobby. I think that sums up really what it is about the hobby and the people who participate in it that really appeals to me the most is the varied nature of it. There is no one way to do this. There is no prescribed nature to the hobby. The games that we play, even if you're playing the most codified game that appears to come out of a box, it's still not a board game. It's still not a card game. It doesn't have those edges and parameters in the same way. There still is that flexibility, whether that's free movement or the way that you paint your models or the narrative and stories that you use to describe the models that you're playing with. The flexibility to use these games as essentially a way of playing as adults, going back to what we would have done as children and what people have done as children for thousands of years before us, telling stories, creating drama, creating excitement, and imagining miniature worlds. I think that's what I really love about the hobby, and that's I think, the unifying thing about the hobby for everybody. So for as many people who enjoy things that I personally don't, or as many people who enjoy things that I really do get on board with, I really feel unified as a group, because I think that we are a group of storytellers and a group of people who want to just spend those few moments every day imagining other worlds and imagining our adventures in those worlds and seeing that world in miniature and realizing it in that tangible 3D way on the tabletop is the perfect way for me to really relax, switch off, and sort of find myself in a better place. So thank you so much for the podcast. Congratulations on 250 episodes. It really is a landmark, especially given you basically stopped doing it for absolutely years. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what else everyone has to say. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Alessio Cavatore. I've written a few war games through the years for King's Workshop, Warlord Games, Mantic Games, other games. So what do I remember from being on the Paint All the Miniatures podcast? Well, I remember being asked very difficult questions. It was fun, relaxed, but there were questions that one finds very difficult to answer. Something like, what is your favorite game, or what makes a good game? All kind of open questions that lead to a lot of conversation, but not easy to answer in a few words. What do I like about our hobby and the people that participate in it? Well, I always like the gaming side more than the collecting and painting side, because I'm not my craft powers are weak, but my game powers are okay. After many years, what I like about the people is I kind of like people that don't take it too seriously. I think I've grown to understand that the war game really is closer to a role play game than a competitive, than chess or something that it can be too competitive. It's almost like always a contract to have fun, and the moment people really take it too seriously, often you end up not having a lot of fun. Just because I don't think war games are suitable for that. More of a role-play game, really. So, next time you play a war game, think about it in those terms. Just a giant role-play game. All right, thank you for having me, and have fun.
So my name is Matthew. I present the Tabletop Miniature Hobby podcast by Bedroom Battlefields. It is a mediocre show focused on all aspects of the Tabletop Miniature Hobby podcast. Probably not worth listening to be quite honest with you. You're probably better served just staying where you are. But very nice of Dan to invite me to butter him up on this 250th, is it? 250th episode of his... what drivel has he sent over? Let's have a wee look. What can you remember when you were on the Paint All the Minis podcast? I think I've been on a couple of times, 2 or 3. I know we've kind of done what you would call co-hosted episodes, so we've recorded an episode together and put it out on both shows. I think we have long conversations about not very much at all. I really enjoy them. I don't ever think we solve anything or figure anything out, but it's always good fun. Hopefully the listener feels the same. At least one listener, hopefully, out there has enjoyed them. As for what else I could remember, I remember that Dan's internet is often quite shit. There's been a few times where the recording software has had to bail me out with a cloud backup or that, because he just he doesn't evidently care enough about you, his listeners, to invest in decent Wi-Fi. But that's up to him to sort out. Nothing I could do about that, I'm afraid. All right, what is it about our hobby and the people who participate in it that you like the most? That's a tricky one to answer without it just being birthday card drivel. Trying to give a more pragmatic answer. I guess it's really nice to be in touch with and hear from, and even be able to game with people that had the sort of same relationship with the hobby growing up in the same time period, and are into the same aesthetics and miniatures and story worlds and all that. I think there's that. I think there's also the fact that we're doing stuff tangibly, practically, in an increasingly digital world. So I think there's a lot of value in that I like and enjoy. Like it's, I know a large part of the hobby is online now. That literally this podcast and YouTube's a big thing, and the ways that people can share their work and broadcast their games and all that. That's great. That's a great addition to the hobby. But at its core, it's still analog. It's still offline, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really positive thing. But I don't want to over answer this because I'll just start rambling. And if you want to hear rambling, just listen to one of my episodes with Dan. You'll hear plenty there, mainly from him. So, yeah, I hope that is useful. I mean, I can't see how it would be, but Dan was kind enough to invite me and I didn't want to let him down. So, yeah, there you go. And congratulations, of course, on 250 episodes. That's no mean feat at all. And as the Proclaimers once sang, I could do 250 episodes and I could do 250 more. So I'm looking forward to hearing what's next. And yeah, we'll maybe catch up again on the 500th.
Hi there, it's Will, the creator of Forbidden Psalm and Last War, amongst other games. Checking in and saying a big congrats on your 250th episode. That's pretty awesome. Not many podcasts get to that number. It was really great to be on the show twice. And what I recall from both times being on the show was just kind of how awesome it was just to have a conversation, to feel like it was a genuine conversation about the hobby and about different aspects of the hobby. Still can't remember any better Wills from history either. So, really good to be involved and to have an opportunity to just chat. It was really fun. I think the thing I like the most about the hobby is just kind of the people involved that I've encountered and I've interacted with on the whole are some of the nicest, most genuine people. We are here collectively playing with toys as adults and finding ways to have fun and play. And so many people in the world don't do that. So many people are so kind of wrapped up in making money or kind of trying to progress things in a certain way that we're told to, whereas it feels that play is an act of rebellion against that status quo. To just sit down and hobby and paint something, to play a game, to write games, all of these things feels like in this modern day and age where we're told to forever strive for progression, to just have fun is an act of rebellion. And that's kind of what I love about the hobby, is the amount of people that are participating in what is essentially an act of rebellion, in my view. It is wonderful to see so many people wanting to just have fun, just play games, just enjoy life, which goes against the current status quo and the current trends that we are told that we must all participate in.
Ah, crap, that's my coffee.
Hey all, hope you're enjoying Paint All the Minis. It's me, Count Vamps. I've been a wargamer for about 20 odd years now, and I've just been enjoying, playing war games for my life. So, and I'm getting my kids into it, and I'm just here to talk about the podcast itself. So, Dan invited me on around about 3 months ago, and we were talking about pricing in Games Workshop, particularly comparing the pricing of getting into other miniature games comparatively Games Workshop. And yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting topic to cover. I wanted to cover it early in my own channel, and Dan decided to have me on. We had a good old chat about it, and I really just enjoyed being able to sort of go backwards and forwards and discuss it with another person, because, it's nice not to soundboard yourself either. I think the thing I like most about our hobby in wargaming is just being able to sort of strategically think out things, but also have that luck of the dice as well. So it's not a 1-for-1 exact. As long as you plan perfectly, it works every time. Sometimes you can take risks, and I just really like that. The thing I think I like most about the people in the hobby is just that everyone seems to be pretty genuine, and when a non-genuine person comes along, generally everyone cops onto that pretty quick. So Yeah, I just think that overall, particularly lately, I think the people have been absolutely fantastic. And other than a few bad eggs I've met in my past, I think the wargaming community is great on a whole. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you at some point.
This is Mike Tunez with Firelock Games. And the thing that really stands out to me when I think about the times I've been on the Paying All the Minis podcast is just how just laid back and relaxed and conversational it was. Just kind of like hanging out with fellow hobbyists and just enjoying one of the best things about being a part of this hobby, which is people and the community, and just being able to have fun, build friendships, of course, have some good smack talk over the table and the dice, and all that good stuff that comes along with it. So thanks to Dan at Paint All the Minis for doing what he does and just helping our greater community just be the awesome thing that it is.
Zach Kentucky Tackett here, congratulating Dan and the rest of the community on 250 episodes. Answer these here questions he set up. What brought me to paint all the minis, and what do I like about it? Well, boredom. And it fills that boredom void, I guess. I stumbled upon it, I think it was in the maybe 40s or 50s episodes. Been listening ever since. What episodes I've enjoyed? Definitely the Why I Love episodes. Those are great. It's just some jag-off talking about what games they dig, and you know, I've bought a lot of crap that I don't need just listening to those. And finally, what I love about the hobby and what I'm playing, you know, I love art, I guess. Falling a lot more into that. Painting's the primary part of the hobby for me these days. Don't really have a space at the moment to do so I've been playing a lot of Unmatched when I visit my brother. Pretty casual, quick pickup game. Obviously, Shadows Brimstone is my top tier. Mess with a lot of Middle-earth, huge Tolkien nerd, so that's been nice. But overall, just slapping some color on some plastic dudes. So congrats on 250, Dano.
Hey, I'm Scal. I found Paint All the Minis when I was first learning to paint, and I've stayed for the fantastic community we have here. Congratulations on reaching 250 episodes. Keep up the good work.
Hey everyone, this is Randall from the Imperial Minis YouTube channel. I've had the honor and pleasure to be a guest on the Paint All the Minis Paint Ramble podcast twice this year. I want to say a heartfelt congratulations to Dan for reaching the quarter millennium mark. Is that the right term, millennium, for counting things? Anyway, big congrats to Dan for reaching this milestone for the Paint Ramble podcast. Now, what do I remember most about being on the podcast? Well, this wasn't the first time I've participated in a podcast or been a guest on another person's channel, but every other time I participated in a podcast, there was always a very clear agenda as far as talking points and subjects to discuss. But when talking to Dan on the Paint Ramble podcast, I was struck both times with how casual and natural it all felt. And even though I knew the podcast was going to be publicly shared, I just felt like he and I were having a casual chat like two friends might who were just catching up after some time apart. So that was a very refreshing feeling, and I think it helped to make the conversation actually more interesting for the listeners. Now, if I was asked what it was about the hobby that I liked the most, I would say it's the seemingly endless number of avenues for personal expression. So in this hobby, we can express ourselves through our painting and hobbying, through our community building efforts, through our story writing, creative play, through coaching, and just through our games that we play with friends and strangers. And as for what I like most about the folks in our hobby, I'd say it's the absolutely unlimited creativity of the broader gaming community that's just a constant source of inspiration for me and everyone else. The community, it's like a petri dish of inspiration, and you can almost see in real time how a certain like new painting method or new game or hobby trend just catches fire and spreads around everywhere. generating discussion, hype, criticism. But aside from the odd ill-intentioned person, the overwhelming majority of folks in this hobby are extremely supportive and encouraging of one another, and just very supportive as we all continue on our hobby journey together. So big thanks again to Dan for all his hard work connecting people together, and another big heartfelt congratulations to Dan for this milestone of 250 podcasts.
This is bona fide post-ramble rambler Dave Schmidt. You may know me on the Discord as Dave Schmidt. What brought me to Paint All the Minis was looking for interviews with Joseph McCullough and Mike Hutchinson. They kind of brought me into the hobby as their games just seemed a whole lot more accessible to me than a lot of what else was out there. So that kind of brought me in, but I came for the celebrities and then stayed for the rest of us in a lot of ways. Still enjoy their content a lot. They are the rest of us in some ways, but just the breadth and width of hobbyists that are on the podcast is a lot of fun to listen to. I like hearing from people from throughout the industry and also just fellow fans. Specific episodes that I have enjoyed would probably largely be the sustainable gaming episodes that were recorded way back in 2019. I don't think I listened to them at the time. I think I came across the whole podcast later than that, but that was a highlight digging through the archives. For what I love about the hobby, I think it's kind of all of it. I like seeing tiny toy soldiers on the table. Not soy toy soldiers, just toy soldiers. I'm just going to leave that in the spirit of Paint All the Minis. I think that's appropriate. But yeah, I love the storytelling of it all. I think that Mark just discussed that on a recent episode, and I just heartily agreed with him. The stories that you tell, that's what's important to me about it. And so when I'm painting minis, I am imagining what those characters are, and when I get them on the table, I see if they're living up to their potential. And I enjoy that a lot. I've really just having come into this hobby later in life than most. I kind of came into it for the first time about at the age that a lot of people kind of rediscover it. So I really have enjoyed it, and I think that's what grabs me about it. Is it's the same kind of stuff I've always liked. I just found a new way to express some of that. So thank you for putting this all on, and keep painting.
Hi, it's Dave in Carrickfergus, Northern Ireland. Long time listener to the podcast. The first Paint All the Minis podcast I listened to was, I think, in 2021. I at the time was getting into a bit more outside of the Games Workshop sphere of wargaming, and had come across Burrows and Badgers, was getting into Burrows and Badgers in a big way, and did a wee Apple podcast search for Burrows and Badgers, and lo and behold, there was Paint All the Minis. It was a conversation actually with Peter, so shout out to Peter. Back in August, having a chat with Mike Lovejoy of Oathsworn Miniatures. So that was cool. I didn't jump on and become an instant, Paint All the Minis podcast listener from that stage, but as things went on, as I was continually searching for other non-Games Workshop hobbying content out there, you would do the same thing, put a wee search in, lo and behold, Paint All the Minis kept coming up. So it's something that I was kind of more regularly in contact with, and then eventually just became one of those subscribed podcasts. I didn't really used to listen to a lot of hobby related podcast content. It was mostly historical, sort of sci-fi fiction and literature sort of podcasts that I would be listening to, but more and more I've gravitated towards miniature hobby podcasts, Paint All the Minis has just become one of those staples, along with the Tabletop Miniature Hobby Podcast from Bedroom Battlefields. So I'll spend a lot of my time over on. I've joined their Discord, and also now bounced over to Paint All the Minis Discord too, which has been great. I've been enjoying the monthly painting challenge that you do every month. So that's something that really kind of gives me a kick in the bum to get something painted. It's always kind of the things that you put on the back burner that you never really expect you're going to be picking up until somebody says the theme for this month is, pirates, and then you go, oh, that's perfect, I've got one of those hanging around, and you sort of throw it on the painting handle and you get something done that you never would have otherwise. So cheers for that. Things I like about the podcast, I think just over the episodes, particularly when you're just talking to a fellow hobby nerd, we all tend to be sort of versions of the same guy. I think, in a lot of cases, you're often hearing somebody, say something that's very much been your experience, and, you just kind of feel like, these are my people. So yeah, thanks for reaching out to other fellow hobby nerds, and, not just sort of the great and the good of the industry, if you like. I enjoy listening to Dan. You sound like a genuine guy. I like that there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of editing. Maybe that's just because you're lazy and you don't want to do it. But, you're a good sort of warts and all conversation. You'll catch yourself on saying something particularly nerdy and then switch immediately to your nerdy version of saying the same thing voice, which I really enjoy. I would like to hear a smash cut of all of those, if that was a thing that was possible. I'm often listening to the pod while I walk the dog, or sort of run around on my lunch hour from work. Very, very rarely while actually painting all the minis. But one thing I do often wonder, there's sort of like background noises whenever you're having a chat of like rattle cans and things, and I just wonder, are you actually genuinely painting all the minis while you have these chats, or is it just like a background noise thing that you add post-production? It's a good question. Games that I'm into, this year and last year I've been playing Tonks, Gaslands, Turnip 28, Bears and Badgers. I've also got a wee collection of 1/300 scale World War II aircraft, just for the crack, and I do a wee simple version of the rules for that. My son's been getting into the hobby a whole lot. I've been going over sort of 6th, 7th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle with him. We haven't really bothered much with 40k, but it would be 5th edition if I was ever sort of getting the 40k on the go. And all-time favourite games, Necromunda and Gorkamorka, have sort of been a staple of my hobbying life. So that sort of gives you a flavour of what age I am and what the the previous gaming experience has been. So yeah, cheers, thanks for the pod. Looking forward to hearing what everyone has to contribute. Thanks.
What is good? To paint your minis, see them deployed on the table, and hear the lamentations of neckbeards.
Hey, this is Ravis, aka Barry, coming out to you from Arizona. I've been listening to this podcast for about 5 years, ever since I started getting into listening to podcasts because of a job I got where I had a lot of time alone, and so I just needed some, conversation going on in the background. About a year or two early, I had just got into painting in the hobby, and as I kind of went through, I wanted more and more content to consume, and I just kind of stumbled on Paint All the Minis on Spotify one day. Some of the episodes I've always liked were just good conversations between Dan and the guest, which is most, all of them. It was just really nice to have something going on in the background that I could listen to and feel a sense of community around the place. I was actually on one of these episodes. I was 184 about 5 years ago. In that episode, I was working on a number of models at the time. I can't quite remember what, but about 5 years ago, I was also working on the same model I am working on now, where I just kind of updated things because I kind of want to see, where I've come and how far I've come. I really just paint for the most part. I am helping co-DM a D&D campaign. I'm not playing myself. I'm mainly there just helping with rules, helping with creating maps, creating minis, painting things, and just kind of helping the DM and players through, as a lot of them are new to this. And sometimes a lot of that can take a lot to keep track of. But yeah, that's me, and have a good one.
So what's your name?
Amelia.
Do you know that your daddy does a podcast?
Yes.
What's a podcast?
Dunno.
You don't know. So how do you know that I do one then?
Well, I know that you do something like it. I know that what a podcast is, but I don't know how to explain it.
So it's like a radio show. It's like a conversation that people have, right? Have you ever heard me have conversations with different people?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Feels like nothing.
Feels like nothing.
Well, to me it doesn't.
So this is for a special 250th episode. So Daddy's made over 250 different conversations with different people.
Ooh.
What do you think about that?
Amazing.
If you could do a podcast, what would it be about?
I wouldn't be bothered, so I'd probably do it about some random stuff.
Random stuff. What are you into? Like, so what would you want to talk to people about if you could invite anyone to come and talk to? What would you talk to them about?
Giraffes.
Giraffes. So it would be a podcast about giraffes.
Yeah.
And who would you speak to about giraffes?
My friend.
Your friend. Do they know anything about giraffes, or just be you two making up stuff about giraffes? Don't know.
Hello, I'm Tom Greenway from Goblin King Games, makers of Moonstone, the wonderfully whimsical fantasy skirmish game. Congratulations on reaching episode 250. What an incredible achievement. I've had the great pleasure of being on the show 3 times, starting all the way back in 2019 when I was all bright-eyed and just starting out. That was episode 123, so exactly halfway through Dan's Paint All the Minis journey. I had to go back and re-listen as it was quite a while ago, and yeah, it wasn't as cringe as I feared. But just wanted to thank you. You gave me a chance, in those early days and a voice, and I'm very grateful for that. Paint All the Minis brings so much positivity into the hobby, and I'm thrilled to have been part of that. So you asked me, what is it about our hobby and the people who participate in it that you like the most? Well, I love how genuinely excited our community is for their hobby. Every painting competition, tournament, event of any sort really are just so full of joy and enthusiasm from the players and the organisers. It's just so infectious and uplifting. Anyway, here's to another 250 episodes.
Hi, this is Forrest Harris from Knuckle Duster Miniatures. Dan asked me to provide him with my responses to a few questions. I'm not very good at speaking off the top of my head, so I wrote all this down and I'm going to read it to you now. I sculpt little cowboys in 28mm for the Gunfighter's Ball product line. I think we're about to hit 220 gunfighters in the line, plus bystanders and terrain accessories. I've been at this for almost 30 years, and I've been sculpting digitally for over 10 years. It has been a strange and wild ride. It's been very kind of Dan to include me in his podcast on several occasions, and I've enjoyed getting to know him. The first time I was on Paint All the Minis with Dan was during COVID, if memory serves me. I think this was about the time of the first PATMOCon. We chatted away like a couple of old widow ladies. It was fairly biographical in nature that first time around, with questions about where I came from, how I discovered gaming, and how I got into this crazy business. We chatted about my grandparents all being born in the 1800s and the influence that had on me. We talked about my matronly grandmother explaining the Vietnam War by comparing it to the Boer War, introducing me to the concept of a quagmire, something that would directly affect the way I roll dice in a war game. The moment that really stands out to me was Dan being taken aback by the idea that I'm a Napoleonic gamer who has spent 30 years sculpting cowboys and not fusiliers. I drove home the point that Sculpting yet another line of Napoleonic figures would be taking coals to Newcastle. No opportunity there to stand out, whereas the Old West was rife with opportunity. We talked about my belief in having a laser-focused mission, something that I've learned from military history and my business education in grad school. So we covered a lot of ground and the time flew by. We spoke again recently and we picked right up where we left off. It was great to catch up, and once again it was sadly over before we knew it. Dan asked me to comment on the people in this hobby. It's hard to pin down what kind of person becomes a gamer. There isn't one political orientation or set of life experiences that define us. We come from all over the world and in all shapes and sizes. In my community, we have an eclectic group of miniature gamers who roll dice about 3 times per month and meet for lunch every Wednesday. Most, but not all of us, are middle-aged, and one thing that strikes me is how unique the camaraderie is for guys like us. Social isolation tends to define the second half of life, and gaming has given us an antidote for that poison. A common trait among the gamers I know is their curious and imaginative nature. Miniature wargamers are this odd mix of amateur intellectual, folk artist, and 12-year-old boy daydreaming with their department store Christmas catalog and making their list for Santa. At the heart of it all is the fascination with the art of miniature. Our little group has introduced many people to the hobby, and many of them who logically should want to game have not stuck around. And those are the people who are merely interested in military history, but don't connect with our wee toys. Paint All the Minis is an institution that speaks to the thing that unites tabletop miniatures players, which is the blank canvas that is the unpainted game figure. The hope it represents that the next time we apply brush to canvas might be our best effort yet, and the pride we feel when we complete a unit that has escaped once and for all the dungeon of the bottom shelf of the closet and will not languish on the island of lost toys. I'd like to thank Dan for allowing me to be a part of his abiding service to this hobby, and I hope to speak to him soon on another Paint All the Minis podcast. Cheers.
Hey Dano, Scott Radum from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Thought I'd leave a comment for episode 250. Congratulations on the milestone. Not a lot of podcasts hit that. So I thought I'd answer the questions you had posted. You asked the questions, what episodes do we enjoy? The episodes and the type I enjoy are usually when it's a hobbyist talking about their passion for a game system or a range of miniatures, or the thing that gets them excited most about the hobby. It's always good to get some of the background from the industry experts like Alessio Cavator, etc. You know, that's interesting to get the peek behind the curtain. But what does it for me are the episodes where it's just a regular person talking about what it is they do, why they love it, and how they like to share it with others. That's what I like most about the Paint All the Mini episodes. What do I love about the hobby? I'm a hobbyist. I'm a painter. I don't think I can even say I'm a gamer anymore. It's probably 100 to 1 the time I spent on the brushes versus rolling dice in anger. I think that we've got the perfect hobby. You can make it what you like. If you just like the craft of getting a unit of 10 guys put together start to finish to use in your games, the hobby does that for you. If you want to dip your toe into display painting and you want to try to level up and put 30, 40, 50 hours, whatever, into a miniature and learn new things and improve your art, the hobby offers that too. It's perfect. A little bit like any kind of solo activity. You decide what success means, and you get to pick how far you take things. I think that's what makes it great. It's an extremely affordable hobby, especially if you are focused on the hobby end of things and you're not chasing a meta for a game or just investing heavily into miniatures you're not going to paint, which of course I think everyone should do anyway. Buy as much as you can from as many people as you can. Don't listen to Dan Adams' stupid minimalist hobby thing. We're put on this earth to buy stuff, and we need to be doing that. We've got to help these people out. We've got to buy their stuff. So buy it, put it on your shelf, let it collect dust, forget about it. Buy it again because you've forgotten you own it. Do all those things. It's important. And if Dan would get on board and start preaching that, then we'd all be a little happier. Other than that, I think that if I had one wish. It's for everyone to find a thing, whether you're into cars, sports, whatever. And my dream hobby for everyone is something they can just pick up and enjoy whenever they have a little bit of time. And that's what painting is for me. I can do it at the end of a work day to help me decompress. I can do it before a work day to get me in a frame of mind to start working. I work a lot from home, so I can do it during the day when I should be working. Instead of making money, I can paint miniatures. So it's the perfect hobby. Thanks for all you do, Dan. Really enjoyed the podcast. Oh, so one thing I should mention. What got me into it was, I think it was recommended on a forum. I think like a heavy metal Facebook group back in the day. I just asked what painting podcast people like, and Paint All the Minis popped up. Where I really got to enjoy the community is during the pandemic when Paint All the Minis ran the PATM. It was wonderful. It was an online event where we got to focus on smaller producers. That's where I found Black Site Studios, Knuckle Duster, a bunch of companies I still like to use their stuff today. It was a great event, timed perfectly. If the next time the planet's going to be on fire and we're all forced to stay indoors for fear of the sky AIDS killing us all, I hope Dan runs another PatmoCon. Thank you very much, and congratulations again.
Hey Dan, Aaron, also known as Waxy Sandwich here from the Discord, calling in for the Paint All the Minis 250th episode spectacular. Long-time listener, first-time caller, really enjoy the podcast. And thanks for giving the community the opportunity to do this. What brought me to Paint All the Minis, I really like that there was a space for miniature painters that was more broad-based hobby related, not just into a particular Games Workshop IP. I really enjoy having a lot of different types of models and hobby experiences related, and I really like the good atmosphere around that. So keep up the good work. Glad you're doing the podcast again, and I'll end it there.
Hi, my name is Andres. I live in Chile, and I was a guest in episode 227 from the podcast. I first started to get involved and be more interested. I've heard an episode or two in the past, but I got really trying to catch the backlog back at PatmoCon during the pandemic. It was something different and something to do while we were all locked up, and I really enjoyed the episode from creators of games I like, and those were the first episodes I prioritized and I listened, and it was a little insight about people that is very difficult that I'll talk to them in person, as I live far away from any cons or for the big gaming cons. I'm currently more focused on the hobby side of gaming. I've been building Oathmark armies for years now, but it's not that I'm obsessed or I'm an addict. I can stop whenever I want, okay? So good luck and congratulations on this big landmark of reaching 250 episodes.
So there you go, episode 250B. All wrapped up there. Maybe that could be my rap name, 250B. Sounds quite good, that, isn't it? But there you go, episode 250. Bravo, all wrapped up there. I hope that you enjoyed it, a little bit like the other one. Nay, hobby stuff has been going on for me. I've just been mooching around, doing the usual stuff. But wanted to take the time to talk about... what did I want to talk about? Dude, to tell you what, I had something I wanted to mention. Completely forgotten what it was. Oh yes, I remember. If you're still here, if you've gone through episode 258 and you've listened to 250B and you're still hanging around for the post-ramble, the band's left the stage, but you're hanging around seeing if they're going to play another encore, then you're obviously the Paint All Minis type. So please remember that we are only as strong as our weakest person. We only run as fast as our slowest dude. We're only as tall as our shortest person. and we all have got something to contribute. So if you've got something to contribute to Paint on the Minis, something that you want to contribute to Paint on the Minis, we would love to host it. We'd love to have it. We'd love to be involved in this whole thing. I think some people get quite precious and see other people as rivals. At Paint All the Minis, it's the exact opposite. We see everybody as critical friends. We see everybody as collaborators, and we see everybody as someone that we want to work with. So if you've got an idea for an article that it's been banging around your head for ages, but you don't want to create your own blog or create your own website or whatever, just give me a shout and we can host it. We'd be delighted to host it for you. If you've got an idea for a podcast episode and you've got someone that you want to talk to, give me a shout. If you go back through the episodes, we've collaborated with different contributors. Josh Benedetto has done a couple of podcasts in the past. Peter Brown's done a couple of podcasts in the past. John mentioned it in his section of the Paint on the Minis episode, 250th episode. John hosted a drop-in paint session at Salute for 2 years running, which is amazing, where people could just come to a specific event and paint with us. We're not restricted by location. We're not restricted by levels of perceived quality. We just want to work with people doing cool, fun stuff, and obviously we're not here to offend or annoy or incite, anything negative, but if you've got an idea that's designed to bring people together, that's positive in nature, like, give us a shout. It's hard doing stuff, a little bit like we are migrating geese. You might notice that geese migrate in like a V formation, and the goose that's at the front of that V has a fucking hard time because they have to fly and break, the molecules of the air, and the rest of the geese have a little bit of an easier time flying behind that one. Or if we were in the peloton of the Tour de France race, the guy that's at the front, cycling at the front, he does an effort breaking the air so that everybody else can follow in their kind of slipstream, So it's all about us all just doing little bits, It'd be great to get the YouTube channel kind of rocking a little bit more. Bat reps, unboxings, paintings, dunno, more content for the website. And it's not about advertisement or algorithms or adverts. It's not about all that sort of stuff. It's just about, if you've got something to say, we want to give you the platform to be able to say that in the most easiest way possible. So we've got a team that edits stuff and proofreads and lays stuff out. So if you write an article, you literally only just need to send us the pictures and the content, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, and we're not here to kind of empire build, and this, that, and the other. But if you've got an idea for something, even if you just got a blog, if you just want to do a blog, but you don't want to go through the rigmarole of creating your own blog and paying for your own, URL, whatever the fuck it's called, domain name, or that bullshit, then just give it a shout. We want to remove those barriers for you just to be able to, shed your light on the hobby environment. So please make sure that you do that if you want to, and if you don't, no problem. That's totally fine. We take you as we see you. But I do think there's a lot of people that have got something to say and things that people find interesting, and we'd love to be able to host that, and we'll take away all those barriers, or as many of those barriers as we can. That's enough of the post ramble. But if you want to come a little bit closer, to us and get involved a little bit more, then please make sure that invitation is there for you if you want to take it up. But yeah, again, this is Thursday. You've had a little podcast treat on Wednesday. You've had another little podcast treat on Thursday. And then you've got your regular podcast episode on Friday. So I hope that you're all good. Treat yourself to something nice. And until next time we're together, keep painting.